echoes of abandonment, mysteries in desolate houses. Introduction. Setting the scene. Welcome to another chilling episode where the shadows of the past come alive. There's an undeniable allure to abandoned houses, those decaying relics of a bygone era that stand silent and forgotten. The intrigue of these forsaken places is not just about their history, but about the secrets they might be hiding. Many believe that these homes harbor more than just dust and decay. They're thought to conceal supernatural secrets and eerie phenomena waiting to be discovered. Overview of the stories. Tonight, we'll delve into real accounts from people who have ventured into these desolate homes, seeking out the mysteries they might hold. Each story is a piece of a larger puzzle, revealing the unsettling truths that these abandoned spaces may be hiding. Brace yourself as we uncover the terrifying experiences of those who dared to explore. Story 1. The Whisper in the Darkness. Introduction to the account. Our first story begins in an old, abandoned house located on the outskirts of a small town. The house, with its broken windows and overgrown yard, looked like something out of a ghost story. Driven by curiosity and the thrill of exploring the unknown, I decided to venture into this decrepit building. Paranormal experience. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with dust and silence. As I moved through the darkened rooms, I began to hear faint whispers, soft, indecipherable voices that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. The whispers grew louder, but whenever I turned to investigate, there was no one there. The air was heavy, and a chilling breeze seemed to follow me, making my skin crawl. The experience was unsettling. Every creak of the floorboards felt amplified, and the sensation of being watched was overpowering. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was lurking just beyond my sight, waiting in the shadows. Consequences. The encounter left me with a lingering sense of fear. I couldn't stop thinking about the whispers and the eerie feeling of being watched. The house itself seemed to change after my visit. Objects were mysteriously out of place, and doors that I was sure were closed were found open. The fear of returning to that place was overwhelming, and I found myself avoiding the area altogether. Story 2. Footsteps in the Upstairs. Introduction to the account. Our second story takes us to a historically rich but notoriously eerie house, known for its unsettling reputation. I was alone, conducting a personal investigation into the house's mysterious past. The intention was to uncover any hidden truths, but what I experienced went far beyond what I had anticipated. Paranormal experience. As I explored the house, I began to hear footsteps echoing from the upper floor. The sound was distinct, heavy, deliberate steps that seemed to follow a pattern. The house was utterly silent except for these footsteps, creating a haunting contrast. The darkness of the house seemed to amplify the fear, and the absence of any clear source for the sounds heightened my anxiety. I tried to rationalize the noises, but the sheer eeriness of the situation made it impossible. The footsteps continued, growing louder and more pronounced, making my heart race as I tried to locate their source. Consequences. The psychological impact was profound. I felt as though I was being followed, and the experience left me unable to sleep properly. The fear of encountering something, whether it was supernatural or not, led me to avoid further exploration of the house. The sense of being constantly watched took a toll on my mental well-being, making every creak and whisper a potential sign of danger. Story 3. The Moving Object. Introduction to the account. Our final story involves an exploration conducted with a small group of friends in a seemingly innocuous house. The house appeared ordinary, with items and furniture that looked harmless at first glance. We were excited for a night of exploration, but what we encountered was anything but typical. Paranormal experience. As we moved through the house, an unsettling phenomenon occurred. A picture frame on the wall shifted on its own, moving from its original position without any visible cause. Moments later, a rocking chair in the corner of the room began to sway gently back and forth. Despite our attempts to explain these events, checking for drafts or loose fixtures, the phenomena continued, escalating in intensity. Our initial reactions were a mix of disbelief and fear. We tried to dismiss the occurrences, but each movement and unexplained event added to our growing anxiety. Consequences. The fear experienced that night was intense. We all felt a profound sense of dread, and the encounter made it difficult to shake off the feeling of being watched or followed. In the aftermath, our behavior changed significantly. We avoided the house and found ourselves on edge, constantly fearful of similar occurrences. The experience left us with a heightened sensitivity to our surroundings and a constant unease whenever alone. Conclusion. Reflection on the accounts. Reflecting on these stories, it's evident that the cover of darkness can amplify fear and obscure reality. Each account reveals how the night transforms familiar spaces into realms of terror, where the line between reality and the supernatural becomes increasingly blurred. I'm curious to know, what do you think lies behind these terrifying experiences? Are they truly supernatural, or could there be other explanations for these unsettling events? Share your thoughts and personal experiences with abandoned places in the comments below. If you enjoyed these stories and want to hear more about the darker side of the night, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for more chilling tales and explore the mysteries that lie hidden in the shadows. Echoes of Abandonment, Mysteries in Desolate Houses. Story 4. The Disappearing Light. Introduction to the account. In this next story, we explore an old, decrepit mansion that had been abandoned for decades. The mansion, with its ornate but dusty chandeliers and cobweb-covered corners, was the subject of numerous local legends. I decided to investigate the property alone, drawn by the tales of inexplicable phenomena reported by previous explorers. Paranormal experience. As night fell and darkness enveloped the mansion, I began to notice an odd phenomenon: lights that seemed to flicker erratically and then vanish completely. The mansion's power was long since disconnected, but I had brought a flashlight for illumination. Despite being securely positioned, the flashlight's beam began to dim and flicker as if it were being interfered with. At one point, the light completely went out, plunging me into an oppressive darkness. The unsettling silence was broken only by the sound of my own breathing. When I managed to get the flashlight working again, the once lit rooms were now in complete disarray, with furniture seemingly rearranged. The feeling of something watching me from the shadows became almost unbearable. Consequences. The experience left me profoundly unsettled. The disappearing light and the altered state of the rooms caused a deep sense of paranoia. I struggled with sleepless nights and found myself avoiding the mansion and similar dark spaces. The fear that something might be lurking in the shadows and the eerie sense of being followed became a constant concern, influencing my exploration habits and daily routines. Story 5. The Phantom Music. Introduction to the account. Our fifth story brings us to a small, abandoned music school on the outskirts of town. The building was known for its history of musical prodigies, but it had been left to decay after a series of mysterious closures. Intrigued by the tales of ghostly melodies, I decided to spend a night investigating the claims of phantom music that had been reported by several visitors. Paranormal experience. As I wandered through the dilapidated hallways, the air was eerily silent except for the occasional creak of the old wooden floors. Around midnight, the silence was shattered by the sound of a piano playing softly in one of the rooms. The melody was hauntingly beautiful but completely out of place given the condition of the building. I approached the room where the music seemed to originate, but upon entering, I found no one and no visible source for the sound. The piano keys were still, and the room was undisturbed. The music continued intermittently throughout the night, leaving me with an unsettling feeling that I was not alone and that the music was being played by an unseen presence. The phantom music had a profound psychological effect. The haunting melodies became a source of constant anxiety and sleepless nights. The eerie experience left me with an increased fear of being alone in abandoned places and a sense of dread about the unknown. The once fascinating idea of exploring such locations turned into a source of significant discomfort and fear. Story 6: The Locked Door. Introduction to the account. In our final story, we turn our attention to an old, decrepit hotel that had long been abandoned. The hotel had a dark reputation, with rumors of strange occurrences and unexplained phenomena. My visit to the site was driven by a particular curiosity about one specific room that had been mentioned repeatedly in local ghost stories. Paranormal experience. The room in question was said to be locked tight, with no key to be found. During my exploration, I discovered that the door was indeed sealed, despite numerous attempts to force it open. However, throughout the night, I heard the distinct sound of rattling from inside the room, as if someone or something was trying to get out. The sounds were accompanied by muffled voices and scratching noises that seemed to grow louder as the night progressed. The intensity of the noises made it seem as though the room was struggling to free itself from whatever was trapped within. Each noise only heightened my sense of fear and curiosity, leading me to question what could be so desperate to escape. Consequences. The encounter with the locked door and the noises from within had a lasting impact. The constant rattling and muffled sounds left me feeling deeply unsettled and paranoid. The experience made me hesitant to explore any similar locations in the future and left me with a heightened sense of vulnerability. The fear of encountering something trapped and desperate, combined with the unanswered questions about what lay behind that door, continued to haunt my thoughts and influence my approach to exploring abandoned places. Conclusion. Reflection on the accounts. These additional stories reveal the continued power of darkness to obscure reality and amplify fear. Each account illustrates how abandoned spaces can transform into realms of terror, where every unexplained sound and shadow becomes a source of profound anxiety. What do you think could be behind these disturbing experiences? Are they truly the result of supernatural forces, or could there be other explanations? Share your thoughts and personal stories in the comments below. If you enjoyed these tales and want to hear more about the darker side of exploration, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for more spine-chilling stories and delve deeper into the mysteries that lie hidden in the night. Echoes of abandonment. Mysteries in desolate houses. Story 7: The Flickering Shadows. Introduction to the account. Our next story takes us to an abandoned factory that had long since fallen into disrepair. The factory, with its broken machinery and rusting metal walls, was rumored to be haunted. Intrigued by these rumors, I decided to investigate the site, hoping to uncover the truth behind the unsettling stories of flickering shadows reported by previous explorers. Paranormal experience. As I made my way through the dark, cavernous rooms of the factory, I began to notice strange, flickering shadows moving along the walls. The shadows appeared to dance and shift, creating eerie, distorted shapes that seemed to move independently of any light source. Despite searching for a logical explanation, there were no light sources or reflections to account for these mysterious shadows. The flickering shadows seemed to follow me as I moved through the factory, creating an unsettling sense of being watched. Each corner I turned revealed more of these unsettling figures, making the entire experience feel like a nightmarish game of cat and mouse. Consequences. The encounter with the flickering shadows left me feeling profoundly disturbed. The feeling of being followed and watched intensified my fear and anxiety. The shadows, which had seemed so surreal, became a source of constant dread, leading to sleepless nights and a heightened sense of paranoia. My exploration habits changed dramatically, and I found myself avoiding dark, abandoned places where similar phenomena might occur. Story 8. The Unseen Presence. Introduction to the account. In this story, we delve into an old, abandoned hospital that had been closed for decades. The hospital, with its dilapidated rooms and long corridors, was the site of numerous ghost stories and paranormal claims. I visited the hospital with the intent of uncovering the truth behind the reports of an unseen presence that had frightened previous visitors. Paranormal experience. During my exploration, I experienced a constant feeling of being accompanied by someone or something that was never visible. The sensation was disorienting. I would frequently hear footsteps and the sound of a door creaking open, only to find no one there. At times, I felt a cold breath on my neck and a disembodied voice whispering just out of earshot. Despite thorough investigations of the area, there were no physical signs of anyone else being present. The sensation of an unseen presence became more intense as the night progressed, making the entire experience feel increasingly surreal and terrifying. Consequences. The encounter with the unseen presence left me with a deep sense of unease. The constant feeling of being watched and the unexplained noises had a lasting impact on my psychological state. I began to avoid exploring such environments and found myself increasingly fearful of the unknown. The lingering sense of an invisible entity affected my daily life, making me more cautious and anxious in similar situations. Story 9. The Cold Spot. Introduction to the account. Our 9th story revolves around a deserted mansion that was rumored to have a cold spot in one of its rooms. The mansion, with its grand but decaying rooms, was known for its chilling reputation. I set out to investigate the claims of an unnaturally cold area that had puzzled many before me. Paranormal experience. Upon entering the mansion, I made my way to the room where the cold spot was reported. As I approached the area, I noticed a sudden and extreme drop in temperature. The cold was palpable and felt unnatural, as though it were emanating from an invisible source. Despite the room being sealed and lacking any open windows or doors, the temperature continued to plummet. I used a thermometer to measure the drastic temperature change, but it read far below the normal range. The cold spot seemed to move slightly, shifting around the room as if it had a mind of its own. The chilling air was accompanied by a feeling of profound discomfort, as though the room itself was rejecting my presence. Consequences. The experience with the cold spot left me feeling deeply unsettled. The unnatural drop in temperature and the sensation of a hostile environment had a significant psychological impact. I developed a heightened sensitivity to cold and became more cautious about exploring abandoned places. The experience influenced my approach to such investigations, making me more wary of environments with similar claims. Story 10. The Echoing Voices. Introduction to the account. In our final story, we explore an abandoned theater that had been left to rot after its closure. The theater, with its grand stage and empty seats, was a place of many ghostly legends. I visited the theater to uncover the truth behind the reports of echoing voices that had frightened other explorers. Paranormal experience. As I walked through the theater, the silence was punctuated by strange, echoing voices. The voices seemed to come from all directions, murmuring and whispering as though a performance was taking place behind the scenes. Despite my attempts to find the source of the voices, the theater was empty and devoid of any people or equipment that could account for the sounds. The echoes grew louder and more distinct as I ventured further into the theater, creating a disorienting and eerie atmosphere. The voices seemed to mimic conversations and laughter, but they were always just out of reach, adding to the feeling of being trapped in a ghostly performance. Consequences. The The encounter with the echoing voices had a profound effect on my psyche. The disembodied conversations and the sense of being surrounded by unseen figures created an atmosphere of extreme discomfort. I found myself avoiding theaters and similar environments, and the fear of encountering such eerie phenomena again affected my exploration habits. The experience left me with a lasting sense of dread and anxiety about the unknown. Conclusion. Reflection on the accounts. These additional stories further illustrate the terrifying potential of abandoned spaces and the mysteries they might hold. Each tale reveals how darkness and the unknown can amplify fear and create a sense of profound unease. What do you think could be behind these unsettling experiences? Are they truly supernatural, or is there another explanation for these phenomena? Share your thoughts and personal stories in the comments below. If you found these stories captivating and want to hear more about the eerie side of exploration, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for more chilling accounts and delve deeper